In this video, we're going to be talking about writing and graphing inequalities. Let's begin by talking about our linear inequalities with words and symbols. So when we see the words less than, the symbol that's going to go with that is this symbol right here. It's kind of like an L tilted sideways. A greater than symbol will go the opposite direction. Notice that our next words say less than or equal to. So because it says less than, we'll have our less than symbol, but because it says or equal to, we add a line underneath it to represent or equal to. So our next one says greater than or equal to, so we use our greater than symbol, and then again, because it has the words or equal to there, we'll put our equal to sign underneath. So what does this look like as far as algebra? What can we expect to see? Here we might see for less than, x is less than 2. For greater than, we might see x is greater than 2. Less than or equal, x is less than or equal to 2. And it doesn't have to be the number 2. I'm just using 2 as an example here. And then lastly, we have x is greater than or equal to 2. So what does that look like with a graph? So here we have a number line, or a number graph, and for x is less than 2, because we have, let's see if I can move this over and show you. When we have just the less than or just the greater than symbols, that's going to leave us an open circle when we graph that. So what that means is that when I go to graph x is less than 2, I'm going to have an open circle at the number 2, and then my arrow is going to go towards all the numbers that are smaller than the number 2. For x is greater than 2, I'd have an open circle at 2, and then my line points towards all the numbers that are bigger than the number 2 or greater than the number 2. When we have less than or greater than or equal to, so when we have that or equal to, here we're going to have a closed circle when we graph it. So what that means is when I graph less than or equal to 2, this time my circle is going to be colored in because the 2 is included in the answer. Then I can shade all of the numbers smaller than 2. For greater than or equal to, I'll have a closed circle at the number 2 because the equal says that that number is included now. Then my line points towards all my numbers that are greater or larger than 2. Let's do a little example where we practice that. So here, we're going to write an inequality for each statement, and then we're going to sketch the graph of the numbers that make each inequality true. So in our first example, it says the statement is that the temperature T in Sweden is at least negative 10 degrees Celsius. So we want to know, how can we take these words at least and turn those into an inequality symbol? We're going to use the letter T instead of X because it told us that temperature will be T. So here we'll have T, and we know we're going to be using the number negative 10. Let's use a different color there, negative 10. So when we see the words at least, that means that negative 10 will be the smallest number that we encounter. So T is going to be greater than or equal to negative 10 because it says it's going to be at least negative 10 degrees. So that means it could be negative 10, 0, 5, 15, but it cannot be negative 11 or negative 12 because those are smaller. So when we go to graph this, we're going to have a closed circle at negative 10, and then we're going to point towards all the numbers that are larger. Let's try one more. So for this statement, we have that the elevation E of Alabama is at most 2,407 feet. So our keywords here are at most. We'll be using the letter E as a part of our inequality as our variable, and the number 2,407 as the number that we're going to be putting our answer at. So the question is, what symbol are we going to use? When it says at most, that means that 2,407, that is the maximum amount that we're going to come across, which means that E is going to need to be less than or equal to 2,407. Now, if we look at our graph, we don't have the number 2,407. So we need to look at, gosh, where might that fit? Well, it should fit between 2,000 and 3,000. Maybe not in the middle, but maybe really close to the middle. So we'll go ahead and we'll put our point really close to the middle, and it should be colored in because it can be 2,407. It just can't be above that. And then we'll shade or draw our line and point our arrow towards all the numbers that are smaller. An interesting little fact is that if your variable is on the left-hand side, this arrow, this symbol, will always point the direction of your graph. But it only works if the variable is on the left. If it's not on the left, that won't work. It'll point in the opposite direction.